Hello everyone, I'm Hannah Hammel and I'm the principal flute of the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. I'm so excited to be a part of the Southeast Michigan Flute Association's Danza this weekend. Thank you to everyone who worked so hard to put this together. I'm so grateful, and a special thanks to Gail Green for inviting me. I know this was a lot of work, and this is truly an amazing weekend with so many wonderful offerings. I'm especially excited to see my friend and colleague Sharon Sparrow's recital. What a wonderful weekend of flute we all get to enjoy. It's so nice to escape from the world around us a little bit and just enjoy the instrument that we all love. This afternoon, I'm happy to share a little bit about my background and my journey to the DSO. I'm so honored to be a member of this amazing orchestra with the nicest and most inspiring colleagues you could imagine, especially the wonderful flute section, Sharon Sparrow, Amanda Blakey, and Jeff Zook. I'm also thrilled to be joining the wonderful flute and musical community here in Michigan. I started the flute when I was pretty young. I started in the second grade after I had already been taking piano lessons for a few years. My dad is the bassoon and theory professor at the Virginia Commonwealth University in my hometown, Richmond, Virginia. My mom, whose instrument is also the flute, started me on the flute. She was my first flute teacher. She is on the music education faculty at several colleges in Virginia and has researched and presented and written on teaching students with special needs, especially in the field of music. My sister is also musical and is a singer and songwriter living in Nashville, Tennessee. So I definitely grew up in a musical family, and I was bound for a career in music, though it took me a long time to realize that. Growing up, I did ballet and all types of dance classes at the Richmond Ballet. I was there 7 days a week during the school year. I was there all day, every day during the summer, and during the fall and winter, the only thing I cared about was the Nutcracker. I was absolutely obsessed, and I wanted to be a professional dancer. Flute was always a secondary hobby for me. My parents strongly encouraged me to not quit the flute, though I wanted to many times. Senior year of high school came around and I knew I wanted to apply to colleges to major in dance. So at that point, they agreed that I could quit the flute and no longer be in the Richmond Symphony Youth Orchestra. But once we found out that the youth orchestra would be playing Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony, I had a change of heart and I decided that I wanted to stay in the youth orchestra because by this point I was falling in love with orchestral playing. My first choice for dance colleges was Butler University, and I applied early for early admission in September, but I didn't get in, and I was very sad because so many of my friends had gotten in, so many of my friends at the Richmond Ballet, and I wanted to go too, but I didn't get in. So that's when I realized that maybe a dance career wasn't for me, wasn't the right choice for me. My parents and teachers helped me last minute apply to colleges for music. A lot of the pre-screening deadlines had already passed, so I couldn't apply to a lot of conservatories, but Oberlin didn't have a pre-screening deadline, so I was able to apply to Oberlin. I went to the audition and I totally fell in love with the school, wanted to go there with all my heart, and was so lucky to get to attend for my undergraduate degree. I still kept dancing at Oberlin during my freshman year, and I still love to dance and channel that part of me through yoga and other things. So to any of you who are not sure what path to choose or are questioning the path that you did choose, know that it's never too late or never the wrong time to switch courses or add something to enrich your life further. Trust your instincts, lead with your strengths, and always do what makes you happy. Oberlin is such a special school, and I absolutely loved my 4 years there. I loved studying with Alexis Still. She's an incredible flutist and teacher, and I learned so much from her. Oberlin is an incredibly well-rounded school. That's probably the word that I use the most to describe Oberlin, well-rounded. The school is in two parts, the conservatory and the liberal arts college, and many students at Oberlin have double degrees in other fields. And if I could go to Oberlin again, I would love to study something in the college. But instead of doing a double degree while I was at Oberlin, I received 2 minors in the conservatory. I have a minor in music theory, for which I took so many fascinating classes, including a class on Ravel, the music of Ravel, and a class on Schenkerian analysis. My other minor is in historical performance, where I studied the Baroque flute and played in Baroque ensembles on all period instruments. While at Oberlin, I also enjoyed roles in arts administration. Every January at Oberlin, students are required to complete a winter term, and one January I spent the month in San Francisco doing an arts administration internship at a new music organization. When I got back to Oberlin, I used those skills to found the Oberlin Flute Association, which is now a college-funded club that invites amazing guest artists from around the country to present a recital, master classes, and teach lessons. Founding the club and getting all of that set up, the budget, and organizing all of the guest artists' travels and schedules was such an interesting and valuable experience, and to this day, I really enjoy administrative work. Another big part of my time at Oberlin was contemporary music. I played in the Oberlin Contemporary Ensemble as much as I played in the orchestra. I was also in a contemporary music sextet with the same instrumentation as the amazing chamber group 8th Blackbird. The instrumentation is flute, clarinet, violin, cello, percussion, and piano. We performed regularly and we even memorized some of our pieces, which was a really fun and challenging task to do as a chamber group. It takes a lot of trust. And we had the honor of performing at the Kennedy Center, which was a really memorable experience for me. That sextet definitely instilled my love for chamber music and contemporary music. So Oberlin allowed me to explore every facet of music. I even dabbled in jazz, flute, and world percussion a little, so that was fun. I just loved getting these versatile and invaluable experiences. They shaped me into the musician that I am today. And by the end of my time at Oberlin, I knew that I wanted to pursue an orchestral career, and I applied to several schools for my master's. I applied to Juilliard, Boston University, Eastman, and Rice University, which was my first choice school because of its reputation for its orchestral training. And I was fortunate to receive my master's degree at Rice. Rice University in Houston, Texas was a huge adjustment from the small liberal town of Oberlin, Ohio. The Shepherd School of Music at Rice is very focused on orchestral training. There's a huge focus on lessons and orchestra rehearsals and concerts. I loved studying with Leon Baisi, who really helped me refine my playing, especially with orchestral excerpts, and helped me transition from a student to a professional mindset. Playing in the orchestra at Rice was really a transformational experience, and our concerts are still some of my favorite concerts of all time. The orchestra conductor, Larry Ratcliffe, taught me so much, and I still use his skills that he taught me for auditions and for playing in an orchestra. My classmates at Rice were out of this world amazing. The flute studio especially was incredibly inspiring. We encouraged each other and challenged each other to get better every day. I was also incredibly inspired by my friends who played different instruments. I learned so much playing for them and playing for faculty of different instruments. The faculty at Rice were so generous with their time, and I got to have a lesson with the violin, double bass, clarinet, oboe, bassoon, trumpet, and French horn teachers while I was there. It was crucial to my development to get feedback from non-flutists, and I'm so grateful for all the opportunities I had while I was a student at Rice. During my time at Rice, I started to take auditions more regularly and more seriously. My very first audition was the summer before my senior year at Oberlin, and I auditioned for the Richmond Symphony piccolo position because it was my hometown and it felt like a good first audition to take. Thanks to beginner's luck, I advanced and I got to experience what a preliminary and a semifinal round feel like. I got so much information from my first few auditions, and I learned from them and could take that information to the next auditions to try to do better. The first few auditions were actually really fun for me. I loved showing up and finding out what the excerpts from the list were that they were going to ask for each round. I also loved seeing flute friends from all over that I don't get to see often. For me, it was a little bit of a social event once the audition was over, and I absolutely loved that part. I'll admit auditions did lose their charm a little bit over the years, but I still try to approach them with that same positive attitude. My senior year at Oberlin, I made the finals for the Cincinnati Symphony Associate Principal Flute audition, which I absolutely did not expect. This gave me some confidence and excitement going into my degree at Rice. And then the next few auditions I took while a student at Rice, I did not advance at all. So progress is not linear. If you make the finals, it doesn't mean you're going to win the next one. It's a very up and down process. Sometimes you advance, sometimes you don't. But I kept trying and would have varying levels of success, but I graduated from Rice jobless. My plan was to stay in Houston and continue teaching at the middle school and high schools where I had been teaching for the previous 2 years and keep taking auditions, but ultimately I decided to move home to Richmond, Virginia. I wanted to live for free so I could focus on practicing and have a flexible schedule to be able to freelance and substitute with orchestras when I was asked. This ended up being a good decision because the summer before I moved home, right after I graduated from Rice, I made the finals for the Pittsburgh Symphony's Associate Principal Flute audition and was asked to play guest principal for a few weeks that season. So I moved home in late August after attending Music Academy of the West in Santa Barbara. And in early September, I drove to Knoxville for the Knoxville Symphony Orchestra's Principal Flute audition. And to my delight and surprise, I won. So it was there that I was able to start my career. I spent 2.5 seasons as the principal flute of the Knoxville Symphony, and I'm so grateful for my experiences there. The Knoxville Symphony plays a wide variety of concerts, including masterwork concerts, chamber orchestra concerts, pops, ballet, opera, chamber music concerts. Part of the job was being in a woodwind quintet, so we played monthly recitals and concerts at schools regularly. My colleagues were great people and players, and I got such valuable professional experience in the Knoxville Symphony that has prepared me for my job here in the DSO. I played a lot of important repertoire for the first time and got well adjusted to the pace of an orchestra schedule, which is very different from the concert pace in schools. While in Knoxville, I continued to take auditions for bigger orchestras while working hard to play KSO concerts to the best of my ability to work hard to earn tenure. My whole first season in the KSO, I didn't have a single flute lesson. And I think it is really important to learn how to be your own flute teacher. So this was a big transition and growing year for me. But I did really miss getting feedback and new ideas from trusted sources. So I was fortunate to get to attend Tanglewood Music Center both of the summers that I was in the KSO, which was much needed motivation. My second season in the KSO, I made an effort to drive to Atlanta to play for the principal flutist there, Christina Smith, and also to drive to Nashville for the principal flutist there, Eric Gratton. Playing for both of them before auditions was crucial to helping my playing get to the next level and doing well in auditions, including the DSO audition. I also played mock auditions for my colleagues in the KSO of other instruments and in the flute section, and I learned so much playing for all of these people. My flute playing encompasses influences from many musicians and many flutists in particular. My influences include my two main teachers, Alexa Still and Leon Bicey, my very first teacher, my mom, Elizabeth Rowe from Tanglewood, Jim Walker and Tim Day from Music Academy of the West, Andreas Blau and Tim Hutchins from the summer I spent in Japan at Pacific Music Festival, plus the lessons I took in Knoxville, and single lessons that I took from some of the greatest flutists, including Benita Boyd, Carol Winsens, Robert Langevin, Jeffrey Kainer, Linda Toot, Arlie DeRoe, and too many fantastic masterclass performances to count. I loved seeking out all of these amazing flutists for a chance to meet them and play for them and learn from them, and I encourage you all to do the same. I'll forever be a student of the flute, striving to learn more and be a better flutist and musician every day. Unfortunately, I've always been injury prone. I've experienced flute-related injuries, including shoulder, wrist, neck, and thumb pain, but the scariest was when I had some embouchure pain. Everything's under control now, and I'm thankful to be stronger and smarter due to the efforts I've put into resolving my injuries. But I want to share with you all the importance of injury prevention and maintenance and seeking professional help when you're in pain. The repetitive nature of playing the flute and any instrument puts a strain on our bodies, and it's important to stretch and strengthen every day that we play the flute. I use TheraBands regularly to strengthen my back and shoulders, and therapy putty to strengthen my hands. I regularly exercise, which we all know is important for every aspect of our lives, but it's also important for flute health. Using ice and heat as needed are also helpful tools, as is physical therapy if the condition worsens. I've been to physical therapy several times for different issues, and I'm always stronger and healthier because of it. So I now have all sorts of tools and tips and tricks to help me when I'm experiencing this kind of pain. My embouchure pain was scary and took a little longer to resolve, but due to a few different lifestyle changes, I was able to fix it. So my embouchure, I was pinching a little too much, and now I use a lot more air, support better, and I play in a more healthy way. I also went to a physical therapist, and he gave me an intraoral massage, meaning he massaged the inside of my mouth, and he taught me how to do that safely too. So now sometimes when I take a hot shower and my face, my cheek muscles are feeling stiff and tired, I'll massage the inside of my mouth a little to relieve and relax the muscles. I also got blood work done, which revealed that I had a B12 deficiency, which, could just be a small thing, but now that I take B12 supplements, that's been helping too, because apparently B12 deficiency means that you could experience symptoms like I was having. So the bottom line is, if you're in pain, be proactive about solving it. There are lots of doctors and resources to help, and we want to fix it before it gets worse and learn how to maintain it as we continue to play the flute. We all want to play the flute happily for a long time, and to do so, we must keep our bodies strong and healthy. Now let's talk about auditions. The DSO was my 18th professional audition. Every audition I took built on the last, and I carried what I learned from each previous audition to the next. This was also supported by the many flute competitions that I did when I was in school. All those experiences contributed to my audition journey. I love solo flute music and giving recitals. It's always great for my playing to be practicing solo music as much as I practice orchestral excerpts. There's so much exquisite music for the flute, and playing solo flute music or flute and piano music is great for the soul, as well as being great for developing expression and a unique artistic voice. I'm grateful to the National Flute Association for all of the opportunities they have provided me and all flutists. A special memory for me was winning the Young Artist competition. So I encourage all of you to look into joining the NFA and seeing that all it has to offer flutists of all ages and levels. There's a lot of trial and error involved in audition and competition preparation, and I certainly got more rejections than acceptances to competitions, summer music festivals, auditions, and more. But I'm happy to share with you all that has worked for me in my preparation for some of my auditions, including my DSO audition. For every audition, I first print out the list of excerpts that audition is requiring, and print out every excerpt. Again, I want a fresh copy. I don't want to reuse excerpts from the previous audition because I want a clean slate. I don't want it to be cluttered with notes from the last audition that I might not need anymore. So when I have all of that compiled, I take it to Office Depot and I get it bound with a clear cover and a black back. So here's an example. Once I have my excerpt book made, I feel really ready to dive into my excerpt preparation. The first thing I like to do is play through the whole list and record myself and listen back. This happens about 4 to 6 weeks away from the audition date. And this is a great diagnostic test to see where all my excerpts are. Once I've listened back, I put each excerpt into a category A, B, or C. A excerpts are excerpts that are feeling pretty good, like I would only need a couple of days to get them polished again. The B category is the biggest category. Those excerpts are the ones that don't feel awful, but they're not audition ready, and I need to spend some time on them, but I've had them at a solid place before and feel like I'll be able to get them back with some time. The category C excerpts are ones that are super uncomfortable that I've never felt confident with before, or ones that are brand new and I don't even know how they sound. So the week after I do this diagnostic test for myself, I'm spending pretty much the majority of my excerpt practice time on the C category, trying to graduate them to category B. Then I make new lists and new groups. So if there are 16 excerpts, I'll divide them into 4 groups of 4, for example. And in one group of 4, I'll have a varied group of excerpts. So an example of an excerpt group might be Afternoon of a Faun, Carnival of the Animals, Salome, and Brahms Symphony No. 1. So they're all very different from each other. I wouldn't put Midsummer and Carnival of the Animals in the same excerpt group because that's 2 double-tonguing excerpt groups in the same category. If there are 4 excerpt groups, because there are 16 excerpts, 4 groups of 4, I'll alternate and do 2 excerpt groups a day. So I'll practice excerpt groups A and B, 8 excerpts, and then C and D the next day, and I'll alternate so I'm touching them all evenly. I'll practice each excerpt group for an hour, so each excerpt will get 15 minutes, and I'll turn my phone on airplane mode to minimize distractions and set timers so that I'm staying on track and each excerpt gets an equal amount of time. I'll typically practice excerpt groups A and B on Monday and Wednesday, and C and D on Tuesday and Thursday. This in addition to my approximately hour of fundamentals in the morning and whatever rehearsals, concerts, or other practice sessions I might have for music I'm rehearsing or performing. I try to be as efficient as possible since hours in the day are often limited. Then maybe on Friday, after 4 days of detailed excerpt practicing, I might choose to run through the list in a random order and record myself and listen back. Then often on Saturday or Sunday, I'll have scheduled a mock for a friend or a lesson with someone I trust. Playing for people is crucial to audition preparation. It's also so important to listen to recordings for context for these excerpts. Listen to the entire piece of every piece on the list at least once and listen to multiple recordings of each excerpt. Try to choose only exceptional recordings of reputable ensembles and avoid recordings of non-professional ensembles. I use YouTube and Spotify to find high quality recordings of world-class orchestras only if possible. Listening to recordings is a great way to get musical inspiration, but also to confirm your tempo choice. I like to listen to several recordings and write down the tempo of each and then find the average tempo. That's usually a good way to choose a tempo, but always choose the tempo that feels best for you. The preliminary round of my audition for the DSO was in early April 2019. I played the preliminary round one day and played the semifinal round the next day. The finals weren't until June, so after the semifinal round, I returned to Knoxville to continue playing my job and practicing excerpts for the final round in June. There were 5 people in the finals and we all played for a long time. And in this final round, I was so happy with the way I played, which is really rare. My goal was to play the excerpts exactly how I believed they should sound and to not worry what the committee was thinking. This is so much easier said than done. But I had the habit of playing in a way that was trying to please the listener, but I strongly advise against this. This never works. It's impossible to predict what the listener or committee wants to hear, and it only makes your own playing sound questioning and insecure. In the final round of the DSO audition, I committed to my musical ideas and musical tastes and tried to play with all the confidence and assurance that I could. This was a wonderful and liberating feeling that I hadn't really felt before. If we're convinced of our musical ideas, it'll be much more likely that we convince the listener. If we're not, there's no way we'll be able to convince the listener. So always prioritize your own musical ideas and tastes, and try not to worry about what the listener's tastes may or may not be, or try to please the committee members. So when I finished this final round, I was proud of how I played and proud of the preparation that I put into it, and I wasn't really worried about the result, which was a very good feeling for an audition. That's always my goal for the audition, is to just be proud of how I played, because that's all you can really control. So after the final round, I was excited and honored to have been offered a trial. So I came back in November to play a 2-week trial where I played 2 weeks of concerts with the DSO, including Sibelius's First Symphony and Mussorgsky's Pictures at an Exhibition. I also played an excerpt round with the orchestra where I played several standard orchestral excerpts with them. This was intimidating, but also really fun. After my final concert on trial, I left Detroit and received a phone call from the personnel manager saying that I was being offered the position, and I moved in January 2020. I'm so happy to be in the DSO, and I'm especially so grateful to the organization for being creative and for adapting to the pandemic during this awful year. And I can't wait to resume concerts with them hopefully very soon. Every person's path is different, and there is no right path. I'm happy to share with you parts of my past and my journey that led me to the DSO, and I hope you found any of it interesting or helpful. I wish we could introduce ourselves to each other in person, and I look forward to the day when that's possible. I do teach privately and would welcome any of you into my studio for regular lessons or for a single lesson, so please reach out if you have any questions or if you would like to play for me at any point. I'm excited to share with you a recording I made at my home here in Detroit of Valerie Coleman's beautiful solo flute piece, Danza de la Mariposa, which translates to Dance of the Butterfly. Valerie Coleman, for those of you who don't know, is an exceptional flutist, composer, and teacher. She is an accomplished performer and a founding member of the woodwind quintet Amani Winds. She is assistant professor of flute at the University of Miami's Frost School of Music, and she is a renowned composer who was listed as one of the top 35 women composers in the Washington Post. Valerie Coleman wrote the following about this piece. Danza de la Mariposa is a rhythmic and melodic tone poem giving the listener a tour of South America, inspired by the various species of butterflies that inhabit the continent. Full of rich and unique colors, butterflies dance and weave in syncopated rhythms within the work, while alternating between the feel of 3/4 throughout. The slower sections pay homage to the beautiful and sorrowful sounds in the style of Yarvi, a Peruvian lament song. The melodies and rhythm eventually begin to evolve into the spirit and syncopation of Argentinian concert tango, and the end returns to the feel of Yarvi. So I hope you enjoy her piece, and I hope any of you are inspired to learn it yourselves. Thank you again to the Southeast Michigan Flute Association for their dedication to putting together this weekend's cadenza and for asking me to be a part of it. And thanks to you all for joining me this afternoon. Stay safe, wear a mask, and happy holidays.